Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Filup Molina, and this is Rogue Theory. We've got a Rogue Theory about Endgame. Surprise, surprise, there's a time heist going on. But just in general, this show is the show where we bring very wonderful people together, often from our pasts. I feel like we owe these people, and this is our payment to them. And they bring us our theories about things in pop culture, and, well, it's just pop culture. We don't really get into anything too serious here. But welcome back to Marina Mastros.
Woo! Thank you.
Who's been killing it on the channel lately.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Yep. I'm over there with Erik sometimes. Yep.
Yeah. You're doing so great.
Thank you.
So glad to have you. But also Leo Garcia,
Hey,
an old friend. You missed the Old Friends episode that was last week, but also no one.
I
wanted to.
saw Brandon on here. He was in this chair.
Yeah, exactly. That's a
if
lot.
These
of
chairs
plot.
could talk, they'd be screaming.
Please. No. And you are formerly of The Onion, and then now making this your way through
Making
Los
my way
Angeles.
through Hollywood, baby.
Exactly.
What a
Victory lap.
town.
Great. And then Erik Voss, who
guys.
is the token non-Hispanic this week.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, it is very token of us also, though we celebrate by snapping and dancing.
And I just nod.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I
Which
say
is
something-
white guy dancing. So
Something
I'm gonna get in trouble for
incredibly
that.
embarrassing. When I first saw Latinx written down, I thought it was Latinx.
See, I thought it was adult films featuring Latinos. But speaking of films that were watched by adults, Marvel made Avengers Endgame this year.
That's a segue, baby.
And we'll have to cut all of that, I think. Okay, so there's this theory going around based on this image that everybody now has the Endgame Blu-ray, and we go through that thing frame by frame, trying to find any morsel we can turn into.
Yeah, we're gonna
a video.
find it. Hey.
But a pretty interesting one came up. So when they are about to go into the time heist, and they're dealing with, well, this is actually a later point, but that system that they build for time travel, when Nebula is going later, and she is going to call 2014 Thanos, I think it is, there's a quick shot of the screen. And if you're watching the video version of this, we'll put this image on screen. You can see faded out that you can actually make out what years they've been traveling to. And very specifically, it matches up basically with what the movie was doing, except one of them says 2988, which is, Eric's tickled.
What? It's just too big of a year.
2,988.
My brain can barely comprehend like 21 something.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, or 2018.
Yeah.
It's gone to you.
Yeah, 2018 is gone.
Yeah.
2020 is a struggle. I'm living in the now.
2988. So on the cusp of the millennium, it might be another millennium. We don't
I'm
know.
assuming it will be.
Yeah.
It will be.
Y3K. And we don't know what the hell that's in reference to.
Yeah, well, there's some people have found something in the MCU past, but I think there's my mind jumped to this. So there's earlier in the movie where before Tony Stark figures out the whole inverted Mobius strip and how you can get these GPS things on your wrists, where you see Scott Lang, he keeps coming back at different ages, and you see him as a baby, you see him as a toddler, you see him as a really old man. Now, Scott Lang was just in the quantum realm, right?
Yeah.
Where you get these quantum healing particles. Did something trigger his aging process so that the old version of Scott Lang that we saw as this old man was from the year 2988? I mean,
That
Paul
much
Rudd.
older?
Paul Rudd does not age. Clearly,
That's
Paul
true.
Rudd looks
That's
exactly the
true.
same as
That is
Endgame Paul
true.
Rudd. So that's maybe there's a version where that's what we see.
Okay.
Is that old
So
man
the
is from the year
assumption is that
2988?
Scott Lang and Paul Rudd have the same aging mechanics.
Yes.
Yes.
That's how they cast.
I'm gonna pause real quick. Remind everyone, this show is about rogue theories, and we support them no matter how rogue. So get out of my camera.
Rogue cameo.
So if it's Paul Rudd doesn't age, you're saying that he would live to 2988 and only look 40 years older?
Yes.
I
The
thought you
age
said he
of-
looked 40 years old. I'm like, that guy's older than 40.
Yeah. Well,
He
And he's
looks
26
like he's-
perpetually.
he said my back, and you saw an old man's face. Maybe it was just skeleton in the rest of that suit.
like
and
he
his
was
back
like
was
dust or powder?
Had termites that were chiseling away at his back.
They froze his
So-
head the way they did for Disney and Ted Williams.
Yeah.
Futurama, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll grade that rogue. That's
Rogue, and also it's
you
great.
got one rogue.
Oh,
There you go.
I'll take it.
All right.
How many
Is
of those
that
do you have?
Anna Paquin rogue?
It's gonna get weird after if I grade them anything else other than one rogue.
I appreciate that theory because it's inspired by real life.
There
Yes.
you go.
'Cause
All the
Paul
best
doesn't
theories.
age.
Grounded in
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah.
All right, Leo. Let's hear
28.99,
29.88.
I knew I was gonna screw that up.
You already are.
Yeah, Rogue. I was pitching this earlier. I think that the potential is that this is
to a different group of people.
Just on the street.
Yeah.
just
Excuse me,
yelling.
sir.
What
Excuse me,
year
sir.
is it?
Look, I'm making my way through Hollywood. This is how I do it.
I'm
I'm
formerly
just
of the
yelling.
Onion.
I'm yelling. Hey, you want this idea? It's a rogue theory. But
He's outside Trader Joe's.
Yeah, here's my idea. It is Hawkeye had to go back and give his son his baseball mitt that he took away
He's gonna return it.
because he took
In
that
the future,
in the future.
you hear.
Yeah, because after the snap, everyone can live a lot longer, I guess, or something. The whole magnetic waves. These can be rogue theories, right? This is
Yeah,
all-
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
rogue.
Okay.
We're talking
Yeah, okay,
rogue.
no.
Yeah.
We'll see. Okay, let's see. This
But
might come together.
Yeah, his son
Yeah.
his son's baseball mitt went missing when Hawkeye did the first test.
Right.
And so he needed to return that baseball mitt, or else his son wouldn't fulfill his destiny of becoming a major league all-star.
In the year 2988.
In the year 2988.
And I'm also going to point out, this is his response to witnessing his best friend commit suicide. He throws up and then he's like, you know what? I should get back that baseball mitt.
Well, he's probably thinking he's right. You know what's important? Family.
Oh.
Because they're having this whole thing about he's like, you know what's really important? Family. And I took my son's glove. Got to give it back.
What do you guys think?
I buy it. If
Oh,
you're living
yeah.
your life at a quarter mile at a time,
Yeah,
family.
yeah.
No, a quarter at a time. We are very
Quarter
poor
at a time.
people.
we're writing our lives on these animatronic things. Yeah.
Yeah, at least one of those toys because I want to see them.
Yeah. How many rogues is that?
Yeah,
Is that
one
the same
rogue.
rogue? That looks like
No,
the
it's
same rogue.
completely different rogue. Look at the butt. All right.
That felt more rogue.
One.
Yeah.
It did feel more rogue.
That's
That's
very
true.
true.
That's
We're
why they're
going
different
rogue.
rogues. The other one was half an inch taller,
Oh, okay.
but you're not allowed to see it again.
It was
Only one rogue?
It was a quarter inch tall.
Yeah, there you go.
Doesn't she have a southern accent? Hey, sugar.
Yeah, sugar.
Should. Okay. I feel like the audience. I feel like I know our audience pretty well. Eric's laughing at nothing.
I was glad to be here at the end of New Rockstars.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, speaking of that, I know that there's 8 to 10, 100 comments being written right now. They're like, haha, I love when they're having a good time, but could someone make a real theory that might really be the case?
Don't ask me.
So
What
Marina,
is
Two. We've had
next?
two.
Oh, no.
Marina,
Okay.
maybe a little less rogue.
Okay. This is
The year 2988.
I apologize. This is more of a pitch for the movie that takes place in 2088 or whatever year.
No, 2988.
2988.
29,888.
2988 is that Thor, who is eternal, right? And Captain Marvel, who I feel like has gotten at least some life lengthening skills of some kind. Is
Hair
that a
shortening,
skill?
life lengthening.
Yeah.
Hair shortening, life lengthening.
What's
She's
her regimen?
immune to everything.
Yeah.
She's immune to suffocating in space, so
Yeah.
she probably is immune to death of some kind. So my pitch is it's a buddy cop movie with Captain Marvel and Thor in 2988, and they do space future stuff, and it's just a buddy cop film, and that's my pitch.
Please call it Space Future
Space
stuff.
feature stuff. Yeah.
It's like the Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
We're both Hispanics from Miami.
Yeah, future space love stuff.
This is why you can't have this many Latinx people on the panel because the
We're gonna
brains
go
are in the
to
same place.
Justin
Yeah,
Timberlake 9 out of 10 times.
He does the soundtrack. Yeah.
Weirdly, how is it that Eric's first theory is the only one that even acknowledges the concept of it being very far in the future?
Mine
Wait,
is
this
future
She said future
space.
stuff.
No, yours is the
Stuff.
buddy cop and it has the word future in it.
right.
Yours is the
Future space
baseball
stuff.
mitt,
Yeah.
and the MLB is apparently very similar.
Oh, I will say this: they restart the MLB once everyone comes back because I was very mad that there are no New York Mets in Endgame. I don't want to get into that here, but
Sure.
I
Do you
think
think
there'll
there's, like,
still
a-
be baseball.
There's a very sweet scene around the snap returning where some players kind of hey,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
walk out like angels.
Out of corn stalks.
Yeah, exactly. They're just
Aw.
There's probably a million hey Dad, you want to have a catch? There's probably a ton of that after Iron Man snap. Everyone's coming back and wanting to have one last catch with their dad because they realize how futile and fleeting life is.
Are you okay?
No, I'm not.
How's Hollywood treating you?
I got an idea!
Feels like you don't.
That's crazy.
Field of Dreams 2!
Yeah. Post-snap.
Everyone is talking about 2988. Also on that screen was the year 2009.
Yeah.
And
True.
at no point in Avengers Endgame does anyone go back to the year 2009 as we saw. It might have happened off screen. And like in the MCU timeline, the year 2009, it's not really clear when the events of Iron Man take place. Some people are saying it's set in the year 2009. That's when, Obadiah Stane tried to
According
rip
to his
heart out.
facial hair.
Yeah, according to his facial hair, yeah. So there's something interesting there too that not enough people are asking about, like who went back to 2000? Did someone try to go back to the moment Nick Fury recruited Iron Man Tony Stark to join the Avengers? Is there something back to that original first arc reactor that people are trying to go back to? Was there another like sub trip with Pym particles to try to save Tony Stark with his arc reactor when Ant-Man went inside of him and like ruptured it? I have
Eric's
lots
throwing out a lot
questions.
of options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they don't involve the MLB, so I don't know if Leo's in with the.
Yeah. 2009, probably a rough year for the Mets. Most years would be.
Sports jokes are at home here.
We all know what they are and how they work.
Yeah, the Met is my favorite place to see opera. Okay, so I do think that's really interesting. I don't have any guesses for that.
I don't know.
My only
I only ask. I don't have the answers.
the only thing that we do know about that 2988 thing is if you do go look more closely, you can kind of make out. It does seem like it actually has a little switch next to it, and it says BC instead of AD.
Oh, okay.
So if it's 2988 before Jesus, then
Before Jesus.
before
Jesus?
Cheez-Its. Yeah. No, then we're talking about the very distant past, but it does potentially line up with the Asgardian army's battle against the Dark Elves and Thor the Dark World,
Yeah.
Oh.
which is a battle where the ether was there.
So is
Ooh.
this screen like a browser history? Is it like, was it the last place visited?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
that's the implication, right? So I guess
So-
the idea there would be that maybe they went back to go get the ether in a different attempt other than sucking it out of Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
But it also feels like maybe that was going to be the plan if they couldn't pull off the Natalie Portman scene. You know what I mean? But
We
like,
go back the way that we went
Ooh,
back to the
yeah.
Tesseract in 1970. Maybe there was a fallback
That's
plan.
right.
exactly. Or not even
BC.
necessarily. Maybe it was a fallback Marvel Studios plan where they're like, look, we'll see
We'd
if
love to
Natalie's
have
into this
her,
idea.
but if she, yeah.
Well, wasn't there that whole, this is, it might be an actual theory. I think you talked about this. The fact that like there was going to be, Thor's trek was going to be completely different in the two movies.
Yeah.
So the idea that like, maybe there was never any going back to Asgard and meeting with your mom, and that's never where you got the.
And he
the
probably
soul
wouldn't have
stone.
been fat in that version because that all lines up so well with the concept of maybe running into your ex is like, oh, so you're like, oh, I was supposed to work out. I forgot to get fit before the next time I saw her. Yeah, maybe
I mean, that's a different place to get the sludge.
Right.
That's where it would have happened.
the red sludge.
Yeah, red sludge.
Yeah, I mean, what's
my metal
interesting,
band.
in the middle of the movie, they just, at some point, Ant-Man, Paul Rudd, who never ages, said
Yep.
that we only have this many Pym particles left. There could have been any number of attempts before that we just didn't see that failed immediately. Like, they could have gone back to 2988 BC to try to get it, because at some point, Thor told them that it's there. But then they're like, oh, that doesn't work. And then during this brainstorming montage session, that's when they finally decide on their final plan, but there were a lot of other failed attempts before that final plan.
You know what's a fun idea with all those failed attempts is when TV shows would kind of run out of ideas and they would do an episode that was kind of like, a bunch of just like a clip show episode. It was just like clips of them trying to get them a bunch of different times. But the Pym particles messed all that up. Right?
Yeah, because they said they only have a certain amount.
Dude, that Pym particles thing messed up a lot. They only have so many, yet people are using it all the time in all kinds of ways. Thanos brings an entire army back with Pym particles.
Well, also, all you do is you keep going back to the 1970s again and again, slightly different times,
Yeah.
and then you wish for more wishes every time.
Yeah.
That's
and then
the
you get
well,
the
baby.
You just keep going a little bit earlier and taking those same four.
Yeah,
taking those same four. Taking those
Exactly.
same four.
Exactly. That's
Am
how
I
it
in your
works.
camera? Am I in your camera?
Yeah. Get out of there. Before we talk about some very dark Spider-Man news and some other stuff going on, let's thank the sponsors that helped bring this weird conversation to life.
This episode of Rogue Theory was sponsored by Postmates. So it's 1 a.m. and you're halfway through streaming The Boys and those gelato cravings are really starting to kick in. No need to leave your couch, just Postmate it. Postmates is your year-round personal food delivery, grocery delivery, whatever kind of delivery service. Anything you're craving, Postmates can deliver. They're the largest on-demand network in the US and offer delivery from your favorite restaurants, grocery stores, and anywhere else you want things from. 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, Postmates will bring you what you need within the hour. No more trips to the store. You don't even have to know where the store is. Postmates will deliver anything to you. Download the free app for iOS or Android, browse local restaurants and businesses, and track your delivery in real time. And for a limited time, Postmates is giving our listeners $100 of free delivery credit for your first 7 days. To start your free deliveries, download the app and use the code Rockstars. That's code Rockstars for $100 of free delivery credit for your first 7 days when you download the Postmates app. Anything you need, anytime you need it, Postmate it. Download Postmates and save with code Rockstars.
Guys, we're back. The Joker movie, the standalone Joaquin Phoenix movie that comes out on October 4th. We have been talking, there's an idea out there that actually we see this movie very much as a standalone film that is its own thing, kind of a side story or an Elseworlds world kind of thing for the DC cinematic universe. But there's some theory that's like, no, it's in the worlds that we've already seen established, either Nolan's films or the Snyder films, this version of Joker somehow might exist in that scenario already. So I want to hear some rogue theories about what that would mean. How would that play out in these films if he's actually from the universe we already know?
Well, I mean, we're kind of looking at this. We already have sort of a Joker verse, right? Like we have multiple different Jokers that already kind of exist in a multiverse in our reality rather than in universe in the movies. But it's interesting that this Joker set in the year 1981, I believe, right? You see a child version of Bruce Wayne in the trailer, will be in the movie, maybe in the background. We'll see how part of the story he is. Like, clearly this Joker is set generations before the other Jokers that we've seen. And it's going to be the darkest version of Joker. This is the first R-rated Joker that we have seen.
Go into what you think that means. The darkest version.
The
of a
darkest
Joker
version. Joaquin, definitely Heath Ledger. Jared Leto did explore some dark places that involve sending feces to his co-stars in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, most of the dark stuff was like not on film, was not captured on celluloid.
But he said he was damaged.
Yeah.
That was clear.
But his head said it all. Yeah. This new Joaquin Phoenix version, the fact that they're doing it R-rated, they're basing it off of some Scorsese stories like The King of Comedy, like Taxi Driver. It seems like they're really exploring the mental illness of the character as opposed to one that is more derivative or maybe just like surface value. They have the freedom to really get to some dark places with that R rating. So I'm wondering if, at least in our world, we may see some version of like a Joker that is a year one Joker. It truly is a Joker origin story. And some people say the Joker shouldn't have an origin story. That's what makes him the Joker. At least that was the case in The Killing Joke or at the ending of The Killing Joke and even in The Dark Knight, of course.
Yeah.
But I think we could see a version of the Joker in this upcoming film that you could say inspired the later versions of Joker that we've seen in past films, insofar as they may be copycats of that deranged mind, and each generation has its own Joker that is specific to that world.
I'm going to give you a phrase, and it's the Church of Joker. I think that concept is what they're trying to tap into in Batman Beyond. Right, where the concept of chaos and embracing chaos and disrupting not just order, but bureaucratic order and just being like rules don't apply becomes just this. But also in Dark Knight Returns, it spills over into like the psyche of all those criminals. I wonder if the Joker lends itself to that.
That would be really cool, just because like. I mean, obviously, I think you'd be retrofitting it, but then that would make something like the opening of The Dark Knight that much more powerful, as opposed to all these like cartoonishly like thuggish guys. It's just like, oh, we all worship at the feet of this alpha Joker, and like now we're all like following all these people in clown makeup everywhere across the country in the world. I think that'd be super terrifying.
Yeah. Like everyone who wears clown makeup is actually paying tribute to their spiritual leader. It's all a cult.
So really, we've known that clowns are terrifying for a reason this whole time.
Yeah. that's why people are scared of clowns, because of Joaquin Phoenix's Joker.
Because of Eric's theory about
'Cause of
Joaquin
Eric's
Phoenix.
theory.
That's what
Well, his is
happened
right?
all those
Yeah.
years
Thank
ago.
you.
I'll take that rogue action figure, please.
Yeah, where'd she go?
Give me the
Where'd she
rogue.
go? Yeah.
Yeah,
Give
if
me
your
the rogue.
theory, if your
Oh,
rogue,
you get to put it in front of your. Oh no, she's gone.
That's not a rogue enough theory.
Yeah, is
That-
rogue
that
our
made enough
conch shell?
sense.
Like
you're
I'm
rogue-
the reigning
Yeah,
rogue. Reigning rogue.
Yeah.
or if your rogue theory is right, if it proves to be correct, you
Oh,
get to
yeah.
keep the rogue.
Oh, forever.
Yeah.
As a trophy.
She'll touch you with a gloveless hand.
Oh no.
Ooh, I don't want that.
What are your powers? Yeah. You don't have any powers. So you're just,
The sloth.
yeah.
Eric's like, just a touch of an ungloved hand is new to Eric.
What does it feel like?
He
No
won't.
one here's
latexy.
actually touched an ungloved hand. Okay, let's be honest. We're all virgins in that regard.
In every regard. All right.
Sorry.
So I do want to. What'd you just do? What are you
No, I was
apologizing
thinking
for?
about gloves and hands and touching.
And you apologize because your own mind did
Thought
something.
crime is illegal here.
Exactly. Your own mind went somewhere, and you.
Hey, didn't we talk about this idea that Joker could be like Santa Claus?
Hey!
Like there's a Joker. That was your idea.
My rogue
That was your
theory.
idea. I didn't want to tee up. I wanted to
Real
tee up.
quick,
Off of
it's
my
your
rogue theory.
Pretend to come up with
Stand
that
up.
spontaneously and not having just stolen it from Eric in a second, Leo. But I'll
was
say,
feeding
so
it.
Eric's idea is that there was in the 80s, and then theoretically what he dies or something happens, but people take on that
Identity.
The
Identity,
mantle.
sure, yeah.
So here's my rogue theory. Capital R, lowercase t.
Well, then that is a. This is for
Maybe
you,
it's
baby.
in front of him while he's telling his.
Yeah, so my
Well,
rogue
he's telling
theory
his
is that the mantle of the Joker is a little bit like Santa Claus in the movies, the Santa Claus and the Santa Claus 2, where
Do you remember the Santa Claus 2 subtitle? Or I believe it might be the Santa Claus or something like that. Or
is it Santa Claus 2, the
no,
Santa
sorry,
Claus?
it's the Mrs. Claus.
The Mrs. Claus.
Yeah, the Mrs.
You have to
Claus.
find a Mrs. Claus.
So it's based on the Mrs. Claus.
Based on the
Okay.
Mrs. Claus is the idea that if you kill the Joker, you become the Joker. You've signed a pact with the Lords of Light and Good and Evil, and you become the next iteration of the Joker.
We will definitely dive into that, but holy crap, 1 second. Is that how Scott Calvin gets... I mean, I know that he accidentally
Oh,
kills
yeah,
Santa, but you think
accidentally.
it's like, you have to kill Santa in order to become Santa.
He screams at Santa
no.
Claus on the roof of that
to,
house.
almost like to be the best,
In
you
order-
have to beat the
Yeah.
best.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh my
no.
God.
It's the idea of
it's
like
like
the
wrestling.
last step the student
Yeah.
can take is to defeat the teacher.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
So it's to
no.
murder Santa.
Yeah, because Scott,
classrooms are not.
Well, I got in trouble in every single classroom.
Aren't they? Aren't
Like
they?
a
we're
last
trying
day
to-
of class every year.
all right, math off.
Yeah.
I love that
just
idea
spot 'em.
that Tim Allen murdered that Santa by
Yeah.
giving him a heart attack on the roof. Hey, idiot! What are you doing?
He's like, it works.
Yeah, he
I knew he
acted
had a-
like he didn't want it, but that was his plan all along.
He had that weakened heart from all the cookies and milk.
His name's Gerard.
Way too rogue. So going back to Joker.
Joker.
So you're saying they who killed who then?
You have to sort of anchor it in one of the iterations. I mean, I personally like the idea that it's Heath Ledger's Joker who murdered Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, and that those are somehow linked, and that the child, Bruce Wayne in 1981, is Christian Bale's iteration of. Just because I also think that might work better age-wise than right now. Now there's gonna be several, but like the Affleck version or the Pattinson version. But yeah, I think that'd be interesting to see, like, to become the Joker that Heath Ledger became, he had to kill Joaquin Phoenix. And I mean in real life.
Like, what if the Jokers that we've seen are
Other
all
way
going in
around.
reverse time? So Joaquin Phoenix is the oldest one, and then maybe I'm getting it wrong. But then Heath Ledger, and then in the future is like Jared Leto. Beyond that, in the future is Jack Nicholson, and way distant future is Cesar
Cesar
Romero.
Romero,
yeah.
Somewhere in there.
And then
is
like a
Mark
caveman,
Hamill.
like with like
Yeah, yeah,
blood
yeah.
like around his mouth. Yeah.
And 2988.
We got it.
That's when the Joker.
I'm surprised you actually got those numbers right. The one time when we weren't
Yeah,
even talking
yeah,
about
yeah.
it, completely off topic.
All right. Well, we all gotta go now because we brought it back
Yeah,
around.
right. I think
Full
it's
circle.
Yeah.
Uh,
Full circle.
any other lingering Joker thoughts of how this Joker could be the Joker that we are in our universe we already know?
Yeah. So like in the Heath Ledger version, the rise of Batman sort of calls out or creates the Joker, right? Like he basically shows up because there's a hero, and he's like, oh,
A taste for the theatrics, he said, because he's got your style or whatever.
Yeah. So my theory is basically the reverse. So that back in time, child Bruce Wayne, the Joker already exists, and he's the one who who ends up killing Bruce Wayne's parents.
Oh yeah.
And basically creates the hero for the villain.
So it's the Batman, the Tim Burton Batman has that in that Joe Chill story, I believe, right? But they that actually weirdly I think has a lot of people think Joker killed Bruce Wayne's parents, but that is actually
in like all of the
but he did. Yeah,
no,
he
it's
didn't.
It's just in that Tim Burton.
I think
one,
it's
yeah.
only the 1989 Batman.
So that's interesting. So he created him way back when, and then created which one? The Christian Bale one? You're saying then?
No. I think because it's so dark,
Or like
it
Pattinson?
seems like a separate thing to me.
Separate universe.
So
Separate universe to me.
Bobby Pattinson's parents in real life were
Real life.
killed by Joaquin Phoenix.
Yep.
And they took on the mantle of his parents.
I mean, I heard Joaquin Phoenix is pretty
My
method.
turn.
Guys, I think we stopped it. Oh, yeah. You forgot to have
my turn,
a
but
road.
yeah.
I don't think it's going to be any of these things.
Oh, it's your okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, my road
Yeah.
theory is that
Mine's fairly
I set you
reasonable,
guys
I
up for failure. In that I can't see how they can put it in the same universe. Because it's kind of what you were just saying, where it's
Yeah.
like it tonally would
It's-
mess a lot up. The only thing that it could be is if it is a setup for a Robert Pattinson universe, but then you know what? They got to go equally into how mentally ill that person is to become Batman, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
interesting. But
And there
I
have been
don't-
some rumors that Robert Pattinson story, the Matt Reeves story, could go into like an Arkham Asylum type story structure. And that is what Ben Affleck's old script that
Yeah.
they're going with anymore
Ugh.
delved into. But that they did say if, like they want to bring in the Rogues Gallery into the Matt Reeves version, and that could be how they do it by having them all as current inmates at
It would also work
Rogues
out
Gallery.
nicely age-wise, because then it would be fun to have a movie set in 2004.
Wouldn't
That very classically,
year.
like we all remember what happened in 2004. I believe the Red Sox won the World Series.
Yeah.
Sure.
Was that Super Bowl? Was it Super Bowl gate?
What's the Super Bowl? Is that when there was a Super Bowl?
Yeah, there was Super Bowl that
There
year.
was a Super Bowl that year.
Pats,
Apparently the
baby.
Red Sox won
I
it.
think there was a year there was a Super Bowl that year.
You guys are killing it, and so is Spider-Man.
Hold on.
That's a segue.
Wait, what?
Wait, is this podcast sponsored by Spider-Man?
You wouldn't want that out there.
Okay.
Spider-Man kills. It's the new thing.
no.
Okay, so comic writer. So this is a guy who's written a good number of Spider-Man comics, Dan Slott. He came out with his hot take this week on Twitter saying there's a thing he does not like in Avengers Endgame, and it's that Spider-Man straight up kills. And he has that high moral bar for Spider-Man that a lot of people have for Superman. But he in general is kind of like, yeah, like superheroes shouldn't really kill. People did kind of establish, hey, Spider-Man has killed before, but those are pretty old comics or pretty weird out there stories. In main stories, he's not really known as a cold-hearted killer. In this version, it's that moment where he activates the Iron Spider suit and he says, activate instant kill. We know that he previously did not want to do that. The first time he accidentally turned on instant kill. So I guess our question here is just that straight up, like, is it okay if he kills? Can superheroes kill? Can Spider-Man specifically kill? Let's remember he's a teenager.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends to go first. I think it depends on the character because, like, Black Widow kills, you know.
I think probably she was Black Widow, but pre being drafted into the Avengers.
Right, but
Or
she's
into,
still like that's. It's not like she did
Shield,
it.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like she did it, and they were like, "You don't qualify because you've committed murder." Like they were like, "Fine with
Probably
it."
a pro.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you have killed? That's great. We're looking for someone who
Yeah,
has
we're-
experience with murder.
None of us have. We don't
You
know
know,
how to do
though,
it.
it's interesting that they don't often go like, "Oh, Black Widow, you have a lot of murders to atone for."
No,
they like
they
say
don't
it in these
address
sideways.
it.
You have red on your
Red,
ledger.
yeah.
Maybe it is kind of like a thing where like, "Oh, it's so weird that she killed. She's the only one." Like she could be maybe the
She
exception.
could be the only one.
I mean, Hawkeye. Once you
yeah,
learn how to do
I
that,
mean, yeah.
what are you gonna do? Like, I'm gonna nail his earlobe. Like,
I mean,
no.
they've served like across like overseas in battles. I have to imagine. I mean, Nick Fury as well. Like all these people have killed. They've killed other men, not
Well, also
aliens.
he was in the FBI or whatever, right? So he just was a regular agent.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
And every FBI agent has killed as part of training.
They do.
That's
They
how you
put
have
a
to
cloth over
pass-
it.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
blindfold you.
Well, it's your
In the
FBI
academy, in the
trainer, your
academy, yeah.
teachers put down in front of you.
You have to kill
defeat
your
him.
trainer to
Exactly.
teach an FBI
Yeah,
class.
And you become Santa.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, they must kill people. Like some of those guys in that elevator, those Hydra soldiers must have had their
Yeah.
neck snapped or had chronic illnesses. And what kind of life are we talking about at that point?
Well, speaking of, so Peter Parker has killed by neck snap before too.
Gwen
Well,
Stacy.
that's
boy.
by
Total
accident.
accident.
Did you,
Yeah.
did Did you set that up for this? Did you make that?
No,
Oh my God!
You're saying it's an accident, but were you there?
Were any of us there? Were any of us in that elevator? I was, and that's why I can't get out of this chair. No, we got to talk about what they're
Just
killing
lazy.
too. Like
Yeah,
all these Chitauri must have had families. I had friends who were Outriders. No one's mourning them.
Yeah.
So I think it's worth going into what these Outriders are too. So Peter Parker kills, specifically the instant kill goes off on these Outriders, which is kind of those four-armed, two-legged beasts.
6 limbs total.
Six
Six
Like
limbs,
Goro.
sure, yeah, like Leo. You're right.
Please add 2 arms to me right here. Here, I'll stand very still.
Eric.
Yeah. For audio listeners, we didn't. So Marina earlier was asking like what are those things? Are they like robots or
Yeah,
whatever?
they, like-
And my thing is, I was like, I think they're doggies.
Yeah, I think they are
They're
similar
like
to
trained dogs.
They're like trained telekinetic dogs.
which is so cute.
And they're supposed to be telekinetic in the comics. In
yeah,
the
that's right,
movie,
that's right.
they're not like.
No,
yeah,
in the
they-
movie they're orcs basically. Like
They're
my pitch
basically
is that
orcs.
you can kill them
Orcs
because they're
are
basically
sentient,
orcs.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
orcs
but
have
they're
feelings.
mean. So and
Yeah,
they're born
but-
out of an egg. Like no one cares about reptiles.
Yeah.
Eric was born out of an egg.
So I'm obsessed with finding them in my day job.
Yeah.
That's why you just want to touch
Your real
someone else.
parents.
You want skin to skin. Finally.
I wasn't even made with skin to skin.
The missing Easter egg is my home egg. I'm just trying to find my way back to it like a salmon.
I think it's
This
fine.
is what
I
you
think
call your
he's
mom?
allowed.
Yeah,
Your
home
home
egg.
egg.
What do you call them?
Yeah.
Sorry.
If nobody's ever allowed to kill anybody, then like it's pretty hard to be a superhero. I gotta be.
Okay, so then
Yeah.
I'll put you in that scenario, the famous one, right? Zack Snyder has Superman and Zod there, and Zod is literally just gonna like assassinate a school group of kids, and all Superman has is, I guess he has his head in a headlock.
Yeah.
That moment, are you guys thinking like, yeah, like just give in to that? Because that's one of the most controversial moments in modern superhero films.
Well, I mean, I think he
Well,
said.
he didn't even need to be that bad a guy, apparently, according to you.
Yeah.
He's just a mean neck snap.
I mean, he said obviously that scenario is set up to make that choice. So like they wanted him to have to kill Zod.
Well, he should have just told the kids, like, keep inching that way.
Just keep scooting, kids.
Yeah,
Scooting.
just keep scooting.
I mean, yeah.
Southern
I think.
Southern Superman.
I think. I'm not sure what I think anymore.
Yeah, it's tough, right?
I think it's okay in certain instances. I think you have to use it sparingly.
You have to be able to do it, guys. You gotta.
You have to use it in moderation.
And self-defense, right? Those Outriders were dogpiling on him, and he had no choice.
Okay,
He's got,
I'll give
he's
you
got
that.
the gauntlet. That's like very important. If he
Yeah,
loses
more
that in that
important.
moment,
Yeah.
Okay.
it gets back to Thanos and like boom, snap again.
Plus, what were they gonna do to Thanos? Slap him on the wrist? Like,
Well, they just make him, like, into peaceful dust.
Oh, boy.
Which is, like,
It's
very
not
kind to
that's
do.
not a murder.
yeah. That's
No,
a murder.
it's a more cremation while alive.
Sounds fun.
It's a super
Burning them
fast
alive.
creation.
No heat. No heat
Kids,
is
sit
applied.
down. This is how I want to be. How I want to go out. I want cremation while alive.
Yeah. Rapid cremation.
But not with heat. Not with heat.
Not with heat.
Dehydrate
Cold,
me.
extreme
like
cold.
an
That's
old-
just as painful as heat
It's
is.
not extreme cold.
Have you had liquid nitrogen burning off warts before?
No.
I have, and that's why I'm in this chair.
I knew it. I knew those horrible warts at all your joints.
I can't stand
Okay.
after that.
I think that there are some superheroes that are like inextricably linked to like not kill. I think the Batman's that might have been a bigger faux pas to have him kill because
Yeah,
like that's sort
that's
of
his
like
whole thing.
that's his whole credo. I mean,
So his car is built to kill in that movie. His car has just
Yeah.
huge 50 caliber machine guns on the sides.
Yeah.
Got a bumper sticker that says "Bloodlust" on it.
Yeah, exactly. Born to kill.
yeah.
So you take offense at that. You take less offense at Spider-Man killing, even though again he is fresh into high school.
Yeah. Well, I think as we've mentioned, he has killed before with the snap
And
of
he'll
a
do it
neck.
again.
And he will again. I think there is something to. I mean, like the Injustice games and comics, and Kingdom Come, like they did it. Like Batman doesn't, and Superman sometimes does, because there is a sort of like for the greater good
You have
element.
to.
You say it so cheery.
'Cause I think at a certain point, like the point is always made, and this probably might have been made in a third Dark Knight movie had Heath Ledger lived. Like the idea that like you have to stop the madness at some point, or else innocent people just keep dying unless you're able to be like, I'm going to do this, because he will keep getting out and keep killing.
So I'm gonna ask a question here about the exact situation that we were in. Here is like maybe in this specific situation it's okay. In this situation, yeah, he's got these Outriders all over him, but also I'm gonna call out the suit is not exactly under his control. We learned that from Homecoming, right? Like if he says something, the suit kind of takes over and does the thing. Did Spider-Man kill them or did the suit?
Oh God.
But didn't he
I'm not
say?
allowed to talk right now.
Didn't he say? What? Why?
Wait, no,
Are you
because
saying sorry again for some heroes?
Sorry, I was dreaming about hot dogs.
Yeah. Iron Spider suit doesn't kill people. I kill
yeah,
people.
that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
exactly. So
Yeah.
is it that? Did the Iron Spider suit do it? Because he activated the mode. It didn't need to
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
It's owner operated, man.
Yeah.
I think we should put credit where credit's due. It's the Waldos, right? So Waldo is the murderer. Those are the names
Yeah.
of
Each of
the
the
Yeah.
arms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where's Waldo? Should be in prison.
Yeah,
You set
Oh,
yourself
boy.
up for that joke.
You were waiting. Yeah.
Whether I am not sitting on that one. I would have laid a much better egg than that.
It all comes back to eggs being laid. I think
Life does, yeah.
it sure does.
Finds a way.
Life.
Finds an egg.
Are
I'm
there
not
any
even
less
sure what my point
heroes
was.
for having killed?
No.
No. And I think in this moment, Spider-Man isn't less of a hero. I think it shows his desperation and panic in that moment. He's like,
Yeah.
sure, activate instant kill. And
So
screaming. Yeah.
is Dexter a hero?
Yes.
Okay, you're so weird about this. You're so excited.
No, but I don't mind the people he's killing. As long as I don't know about it, I'm fine. That's a little bit of like,
Ooh,
yeah.
that's real sad morals. You've got.
Ignorance is bliss. There's nothing
yeah,
wrong with saying
I'm a
that.
big fan of that.
You know, like I think this is all just like a reflection of our personal values. Because like at the end of,
Uh-oh.
well, I really think
This
so.
is going
which
real
is,
well for Leo.
Yeah, at the very end of Game of Thrones, which I'm sorry if anybody hasn't seen it, but come on. Like her logic at the end, Khaleesi's logic at the end of like Jon Snow is like, wait, so you just get to decide what's good and bad, and she was like, yeah, and that's how I am. I'm like, yes, I do get to decide what's good and bad, and at that moment when I was watching it, I was like, oh, I'm wrong.
Oh,
Like he
interesting.
stabs her, and I was like, oh no, I'm the jerk.
You would have
Like,
got stabbed.
I would have gotten stabbed, but that's like what I believe. Like you have to have some people who know what's right and know what's wrong, and they're willing to do what it takes, like Jack Bauer.
Like,
Like
wait, you,
judges, right? We trust judges
Well,
just to have good
to say,
values. And,
but
yeah.
but in these scenarios, no one is serving as the judge other than the executioner.
yeah, that's why we need more Judge Dreads.
Yeah, exactly.
You've been saying that
I keep saying it.
Keep saying it.
More Judge Dreads.
First thing you ever said to me, screaming on the side of a road.
Hey,
I got a bitch.
there hasn't been a Judge Dredd movie in like 5 to 6 years. Let's get another one out.
Yeah. I'm not involved in that.
Yeah.
Making notes. Oh no, Rogue fell over. That means it's
so
time
that
for
means
Rogue
it's-
question.
Segue.
All right, that's all I do here. All right, guys, these are questions that I don't know what they say, and it's always like a reading comprehension test for me here. But you guys will have to give us your takes on these. Ready?
Okay. Yes.
All right. Avengers Endgame screenwriters said this week that they almost had Thanos show up for the final battle sitting on a throne of skulls.
Cool.
Skulls, Eric. Skulls, not scrolls.
Scrolls.
Nope.
Scrolls.
Yeah.
Scrolls.
Go activate them.
Activate scroll. Kill.
What material would make an even more uncomfortable throne than skulls?
Oh no.
Ooh.
You see
answer,
a pile
right?
of swords,
A real
probably.
Oh, sure, the eggshells of the homes that were not yours, but you wallow in them. Because
By
it's
your
the
own
closest
definitions,
thing.
you mean other people's moms.
Yeah.
Other people's.
Everyone
mothers.
else is someone else's mom. Think about it.
Not
Yeah,
really, but okay.
it's an opinion.
Yeah, everyone has them. Eggshells for moms. No, I think this is my knee-jerk reaction. It's stupid. The metal part of the Brillo, like the Brillo pad that's metal.
I believe
steel
it's all
wool.
metal.
Steel
or
wool,
steel wool.
steel
Yeah.
wool.
Scary.
Yeah. Although
They're
I
scary
guess,
to even touch when you're washing dishes.
to be fair, not too uncomfortable if you just gently sit on it. You just can't. No adjusting.
Do you know how to use steel wool?
No.
Because this is not what it's for.
What's it for?
No, it's not to sit on.
No, that's
I know.
You said something
I know. It just
uncomfortable.
felt like the route you went on was like, steel wool. It's not that comfortable to sit on. Whatever.
Well, nothing's too uncomfortable if you just ease your way into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this chair that you never get out of. So, Marina, Marina, you got a different pitch?
Yeah, you said the most intimidating, right? Or the weirdest?
I said the most uncomfortable.
Most uncomfortable would be a bunch of dicks.
A bunch of dicks.
I'm sorry. You said the phrasing was the most uncomfortable. It would be the most uncomfortable to sit on, and it would be the most uncomfortable to see someone ride in on.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Everyone would be like,
shit.
ugh.
Oh, that's
Why
whoa.
is he
That's
on a
true
throne
discomfort.
of dicks?
Mature discomfort has been discovered.
Oh my
First thing I thought
god.
of, I'm sorry.
That reminds
You
me.
can say you're sorry, but like, how definitely is this already a thing on the internet that we could look up
Is
right
it not?
now?
It might
Thanos on a throne of dicks.
like,
Can you
No,
say this
I
on
mean
the show?
people on
Can we
Thrones
say
of
this on the
Dicks,
show?
it has to be.
Oh, the Game of Thrones parody has to have a throne of dicks.
Yeah, it has
Who will
to.
sit on the Iron Dick?
The dildo.
Yeah,
They're
or-
probably dildos, not dicks. They're not.
Well, in Thanos' case, I thought about
they
this while you guys
severed?
were talking. Yes, they're the severed dicks of
severed?
his enemies. You
Oh,
guys.
jeez.
That was.
Guys,
That was.
I'm sorry. Is this too much? I'm sorry.
That's an onion Photoshop we never got to do because Trump won.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was
okay.
gonna be,
Behind the
Hillary
scenes.
Clinton grasping a bunch of severed dicks, and it's like, it was. I don't know what the headline was, but essentially the thesis was R.I.P. patriarchy, and it was like it was her clutching this like. I don't know, a quiver,
great.
a quiver,
Yeah.
a quiver of severed
That's
dicks.
great.
Yeah, well, what's in the
That's
bag?
so
It's a
good.
quiver of
Yeah, a
dicks.
quiver of dicks when you pull
I
out.
love that. I love that.
Like Hawkeye's quiver dicks.
Someone draw that.
I like the Elseworld onion. Like that definitely should be a thing
Yeah.
that we should steal. Guys, last week Captain America Comics #1 from 1941 sold for almost $1 million. Loser. Would you rather have a $1 million comic book or 1 million $1 comic books? Off-screen producer.
I like
Whoa,
this
wait,
question. I like
this
this
is-
question.
Well,
How easy are those million comic books to sit on? Because it feels good.
Okay, wait. I have one real answer. Of course, it's
Eric.
not. No, because it's not because no one's gonna have my answer. Is one time my friend gave out comic books for Halloween instead of candy, and the kids
cool.
loved it. So obviously it's the $1 million comic book, but if you did have $1 million $1 comic books, you can give them out, and they love
Wait,
that stuff.
you're saying it's obviously the $1 million comic book?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess. Yeah, I
Then you
guess
have $1 million.
then you can sell $1
Did
million.
it take you that long to figure it out?
Yeah, for the
I
macho.
thought you were going a different direction.
I-
Like, so you have
my
a million
fear-
kids come
Well,
to
she's
your
trying
door.
to impact change on the world.
Yeah.
I just
But if
think
you're
it's
trying to
like-
make a quick buck, you could sell $1 million comic
Yeah,
book.
for $1
Apparently,
million.
it's already been very clearly valued.
Yeah.
Somebody said this is worth
Yeah,
$1 million.
they've
I
appraised
said,
it.
So
great.
I
I'll cash
actually
it
have a
in.
different reason for not wanting the $1 million comic book.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Is I would be so terrified of something happening to this one object.
Sell it.
I guess sell it.
Why
But
do you
like,
just sit on this stupid $1 million comic book?
Yeah,
What
what
do you
do you
actually
feel so
sit on
good?
it?
What would you
Don't
do?
sit
What
on
would you
it.
do?
with the million comic books that are $1 each?
No.
With $1 million, I'd probably put it in my house somewhere, but I probably would want to read it, and then it'd be like, there's a drink very close to that $1 million comic book, and like I'd just be very worried about something happening.
Why would you want to read it? It's not like a one of a. It doesn't not exist in
It's
none of
just
the other
worth $1
print.
million.
Yeah,
It's just like a first edition.
I don't like anything that's expensive and costs
this
money
is just
because
triggering
Yeah,
his
clearly you
anxiety.
put that mug off of the coaster on the table. You clearly have no
Okay.
respect for
Zoom
things
out
that
on this
cost
table and
money.
Yeah.
it's a comic book.
Yeah. Eric, what were you gonna say?
He wants to sit on it. That's
Yeah,
his
just
answer
I
for
wanna sit
everything.
on it.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
sit
yeah,
on
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I'm the
You go
Fonz
sit on it.
of Rockstars.
The hashtag Batman Yelp has been going viral this week with people writing fake Yelp reviews from Batman. Pitch me your best off the cuff hashtag Batman Yelp review.
Joe Chill, 0 stars. Very sad and parents dead. Never
person-
returning to this alley.
Joe Chill's definitely sounds like a seafood restaurant on a pier.
I guess it would be the opera house or wherever they were. It'd be
yeah,
like,
exactly.
Oh, yeah,
0
yeah.
stars.
Yeah.
Fraught
Too
for life.
scary.
Too
scary, yeah.
Too scary. Now
no-
scarred for life.
Yeah.
Parents dead.
Need security guards in alley.
Security.
Batman goes to the LA Zoo. Too much sunshine, not enough caves. Too many lions, not enough bats.
Yeah,
That's good.
That's straightforward.
Oh,
I like
that's-
it has almost like not a limerick to it, but
Yeah.
a rhythm to his
It's also
reviews.
based in the real world, which is probably where my mind should have gone.
No, I think it's fine.
Gotham, Shine Car Wash, 0 stars. Dulled the serrated spokes on my hubcaps will not return.
I like that he's dictating his review. It's like,
I can't understand his growl at all.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
Gotham Shine Car Pound.
doll secreted returns.
The end
5
of-
stars.
The end of that review is also 0 stars because his guns went off and murdered one of the people trying to shine the guns.
That never happens.
Alexa,
The gun killer.
Alexa, what's the weather? What's the weather?
Crazy Rich Asian star Henry Golding was cast as Snake Eyes in a G.I. Joe spin-off movie. I'm going to read off 2 names, and you tell me if it's a real G.I. Joe character or a name that off-screen producer just made up. All right. Is that the laugh of Oscar producer? It's almost time to wrap up then. All right. You ready? All right. Scarlet.
Yeah, real.
Sit on it. Which means real.
Yes, means real.
That's the real deal.
Is it real?
Real.
Yeah.
Big
Good.
Red.
I have 1 point.
Fake.
Red,
Fake. That's a gum.
That's a
chewing gum.
Correct.
Yeah,
All
2
right.
points.
Giggle gun.
Yeah, real.
A stand from that.
Giggle gun?
real.
Don't say it.
on
I'm gonna sit on Giggle Gun.
Giggle gun. It's like how Barbie has Scout or whatever it is, or Skipper
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
Giggle gun. I'm like adorable. I'm fake.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Chuckles.
Yeah, I'm sitting
Chuckles
on Chuckles.
is real. Yeah, I'm sitting
Real.
on Chuckles all day long, baby.
Not only is Chuckles real, Chuckles is getting his own movie.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Bride of Chuckles.
All right. Flashdance.
Sitting on it.
Fake.
Sitting on it.
Standing. Ejection seat.
There's a lot of these.
Sit.
Footloose.
Sitting on it.
Wait, you can't take his thing over. I
Footloose is
barely
fake.
understand
Footloose
this
is
thing.
We
fake.
should
Footloose
all
is
adopt
fake.
sitting and
Yeah, sitting on
standing.
is real and standing is fake. How have we not caught on already? That's not how it works.
It's a binary system.
Stand. Sit real, stand fake.
Yeah, sit
Stand, then
on
stand.
it.
Stand. Stand is fake.
Okay, so Footloose is fake.
Footloose is fake.
Sitting on it.
Standing.
All right, sit on it.
What?
Yeah,
Footloose is
sit on
real?
Footloose.
Footloose is real. Yeah,
my
he just
God.
explained how those rules were.
Yeah.
The
You're right,
fridge.
Fridge is
The fridge?
sitting on fridge.
I'm sitting on it because he's sitting on it.
The fridge? Yeah, that's good. It's
Sure.
probably like a big
Three of us
deal.
are gonna sit.
Guys,
Yeah.
the fridge is Refrigerator Perry,
Oh,
right?
it's William Refrigerator Perry?
Which is real, actually. There's a character that's completely based on the football player.
Is he just a big, that makes
It
sense.
doesn't say much about him, but
Defensive lineman scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Bears versus Patriots.
that was
1985.
2004, right?
1985.
they die younger.
It
That's
was
what
one
I
of
know
those years
about
they
them.
had a Super Bowl.
yeah,
one of those Super Bowl years.
So, yeah.
Microwave oven.
I'm gonna
Fake.
stand.
Stand,
I'm gonna
stand,
stand.
stand.
Standing on.
Damn it, you guys all took that stupid thing. It's a
Join
stand.
us, Philip.
Hit and run.
Sitting on hit and run.
Sit.
Yes, that's a little too morbid
Yeah,
for
sit
GI
and
Joe.
run.
Yeah.
Wait, you're
Sit
saying
and
no?
run.
You're
Sit.
No, I'm standing on hit and
Oh,
run.
you're standing?
I'm
Okay.
sitting.
Sit.
Sit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got him.
We got him.
We got
Dang
him.
it. People. All right. Vehicular manslaughter.
Oh my god. It should be real, but stand. I want it to
I'm
be
gonna
real.
go against the grain here. I'm gonna sit on vehicular manslaughter.
What's a rogue theory? Give him the road.
There you go, buddy.
I mean, you'll never stand again.
That's why he's in this.
That's why standing is fake because we can't do it.
Yeah.
If we sit on it, it's been a cry for help this whole
As
episode.
far
guys.
as anyone watching this show knows, we are all.
All I want to do
whole
is
time.
stand so badly.
And
Is
Eric
it?
on the blue screen videos is being FDR'd up the whole time.
Yeah.
All right. Only two left. Colonel Courage.
Colonel Courage.
Sit on
Sitting on
Stand.
courage.
Stand.
Oh, standing.
Oh,
Yeah.
stand.
Okay, you should have sat on it.
I mean, darn it. Sorry.
And I mean, if there's anything you've ever wanted to sit on before, it's Baron Eric von Boss.
Well,
I'm gonna stand.
does fan fiction count? Because, my friend, I'm still going to stand because it's not my fan fiction.
Yeah.
Guys, that's it for Rogue Theory questions. Thank you guys so much for going Rogue with us. Marina, what do you have going on in the world?
Sometimes you can see me with Eric, New Rockstars,
And on your own sometimes?
Yep. And I'm on Twitter at Marina Mastros.
Great. I am Leo Garcia. You go.
Come on.
Listen,
I got a car wash.
you can find me gallivanting around Hollywood, yelling my ideas for Field of Dreams 2 at random passerbys,
On
and
Twitter?
on Twitter, Leo Adrian Garcia.
Cool.
Right. You can find me at EA Voss as always. And this week coming up on New Rockstars, we have some fun stuff. Marina and I will be in a video coming out on Monday or Tuesday next week.
Yep.
And check out this weekend because I don't know if you noticed this shirt. I'm going down a crazy conspiracy theory, only in fictional worlds though. Gonna look into that Arnim Zola cameo in Avengers Endgame. What the hell was Howard Stark looking for him for? And the shirt was sent to us by our good friend, that MCU guy UK on Twitter. Thanks, man. This was great. I don't have many shirts, so if you want to send in shirts, I'll wear whatever you
Did
send.
you just say I don't have
whatever you
many
send.
shirts?
I
He
don't
does
have
not have
many
many
shirts.
shirts.
He's a man of very few shirts.
A lot of his shirts are only a front too. There's like no back to it.
Jack of all shirts, master of none.
Guys, I'm Filup Molina. You can find me at Filup Molina everywhere. I had tongue surgery recently, and that's true, and I can't say my own name that well. That's why I had
should
the
change your
surgery.
name to something easy to
with
say.
less else. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, but also to the podcast version of this. It always comes out sooner on the podcast. Guys, I think it's appropriate that we do what inspires everyone at the end of your high school graduation and show that we can finally stand and walk out on this.
Not that
Yeah,
there's
thank
anything
you.
wrong with being differently abled.
Oh no! Don't help me!
Baron
We got so
Voss.
many names to get through.